Hi there, welcome to Long Distance Review. And like everyone else at this time of year, I had to look back at the year and think, what were the best albums of 2018? And then we could all argue about it and tell each other we don't know shit. But yeah, like everyone else, I like to make a list, look back and think, what's the year been like? And to be honest, 2018 has been a really, really good year for rock music. I think there's been some great albums out this year. It's been one of the best years in recent memory, I think, for rock, metal music. So, I was going to do 10 albums, but it ended up being a lot more than that, and I've ended up doing 20 albums. So I'm going to split it into two parts. So this is part 1, 20 down to 11, and then part 2 will probably be out next week sometime. And then we can all have Christmas and then have a look at 2019 when that comes around. I don't really think there's any albums out in December that I'm that bothered about looking at, so I thought that's the end of my list, really. So here we go then. I'll start at number 20 and work my way down. Number 20. Smashing Pumpkins, the return of the Smashing Pumpkins with Shiny and Oh So Bright, Volume 1 LP, no past, no future, no sun. Contentious already. I know there's a lot of people out there who thought this album was a bit what To me, it just showcased what a good songwriter Billy Corgan is, and I really enjoy the fact that Ihsahn and Chamberlain are back in the band. Chamberlain's drumming is excellent. Check out his drum work on songs like Marching On, and Ihsahn's buzzing guitar work really brings an edge to the Pumpkins that I think they had missing on recent output. It's a short album, it's precise, it's only 33 minutes long and 10 tracks long, but it really is a concise effort. There are a couple of tracks on here which maybe I could do without. Travels and Alienation I wasn't that bothered about, and on an album so short, maybe have to have 2 songs that are sort of 5 minutes plus that are a bit of duds. Maybe it brings the album down a little bit. But I just think this is a really, really good album, and a really surprise return to me. I'm really looking forward to Volume 2 actually. I think Smashing Pumpkins are great, and to have a character like Billy Corgan back in music as prominent as he is being at the moment is brilliant. So anyway, on to number 19, Anaal Nathrakh, A New Kind of Horror. This is the 10th album from UK-based extreme metalers Anaal Nathrakh. I love the word Nathrakh, by the way. And it's easy 10 albums into a career, especially for this kind of music, to sort of not really know where to go anymore with it. It's hard when you're that extreme and that brutal to do anything different with your sound. But I think on this album, Anaal Nathrakh have managed to introduce elements they haven't before, but still sound as brutal and as extreme as they ever have. Yeah, okay, there may be a little bit of dubstep element in a couple of songs, and extreme metalers aren't really known for loving dubstep, but I think it works incredibly well. What I think this album does better than ever before is showcase Dave Hunt's incredible vocal ability. Check out his range on the incredibly terrifying screams and growls he does, up to the soaring, sort of almost falsetto type vocals at times. Check out a song like New Bethlehem, Mass Death Futures, which really showcases that for them. And I really love the song Forward with its sort of machine gun work as a percussion, like the machine gun as a percussive instrument, which is really, really cleverly done. A great album, and just sort of shows what a great established extreme metal band Anaal Nathrakh are. Number 18 then is Can't Swim, with an album called This Too Will Pass. Now Can't Swim are a US based sort of emo rock, let's say. I don't like to call bands emo because it seems like a bit of a dirty word nowadays, but they're an emotionally rock driven band. And this is their second album. They released the first album, Fail You Again, in 2017, and I thought it was an excellent album. This album shows them putting in more sort of punk elements and post-hardcore elements in. There's a couple of screams in their vocals that weren't there in the past, and it's less gruff delivery than it was on Fail You Again. But saying that, I think the lyrics still remain very emotional and honest. And I mean, check out the songs like the catchy sort of pop punk of Opener, What Have We Done? Or the driving rock of like Hell in a Handbasket. I think this band's got a really bright future. And if you think back to the early 2000s, or bands like the Get Up Kids, or early sort of Jimmy Eat World, then, you know, this is the kind of sound they're going for. And I think, like I said before, you know, emo's a dirty word. It can show what emo can be. So in at number 17 then is Marmozets, Knowing What You Know Now. This is the second album from the UK band, their first album being The Weird and Wonderful World of Marmozets. And that was really critically acclaimed when it came out. It had a lot of experimental elements on it and elements of post-hardcore, and they were a sort of odd little band. This album sees them drop the sort of more post-hardcore stuff and the screams that Becca had on the first album, and they're really now just a focused, anthemic rock band There is still elements of sort of post-hardcore in there, and there are some odd little things that happen on the album, but there's much less of that than there was on the first album. And a lot of people have bemoaned the loss of that, but for me, I think this is a really focused album full of rock anthems, and it really shows what a great frontwoman Becca's turned into. Her vocals are incredible, ranging from these yelps she does on some songs, right down to the more sort of childlike singing she does on some of the songs. Check out songs like Major System Error and Habits to showcase what this band are good at. Yeah, really good band for me, and I'm really positive about their future. I think they're an excellent band, and an excellent live band as well. You ever get to see them live. Number 16 then is Ihsahn with Amir. This is the 7th solo album from ex-Emperor frontman. I say ex-Emperor, he still does Emperor every now and again, but as a touring sort of band. I don't think Emperor are ever going to go back into the studio again. But Ihsahn is this incredibly creative person, and he's just always churning out things. And this is his 7th solo album, and it's just incredible what he does on these albums. This showcases a bit of everything he's done in the past and sort of puts it all together on this album. And in a way, it makes it a more immediate listen and more easy to get to grips with if you're new to this kind of thing than some of his previous work. If you are new to Ihsahn or ever been thinking about getting into him, then give this album a listen. I think it will really sell you to his stuff. He still has these terrifying growls that he did with Emperor, and they're still in these songs. And there's almost like this horror soundtrack element in a lot of the songs on this album. There's also a lot of orchestral ambience and symphonies that come in. And there's more prog on here as well, but there's like synthesizers, and I just think it shows his vocal range as well. Ihsahn's vocal range on this album is incredible, as I was saying, going right down to the growling. But then he has these soaring, clean vocals that he's got. Check out the song Arcane Imperii, which was the single lifted off this album, and you'll understand what I mean. But it's an album that deserves repeat listens. A lot of repeat listens I've given this, and I seem to get more and more out of it every time. Give it a listen on headphones as well. It seems to really give it a different element than it does when you just sort of listen to it wandering around the house, you know. Pay attention to this album. There's a lot going on, and like I said before, I seem to get more and more out of it the more I listen to it. Really good album, and the guy's a musical genius in my eyes. So there we go, on to number 15, Zeal and Ardor, Stranger Fruit. It's the 2nd album from what is the brainchild of Belgian musician Manuel Gagnon. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong, I'm not too sure. The first album was Devil is Fine, which sort of was this, well, let's say it was a bit of an experiment. He sort of putting together these two sounds that have never been partnered before. He's got these slave music, chain gang types music partnered with death metal. Who thought that would work? And they shouldn't work. It shouldn't work as well as it does. There's no way that these two elements should partner and make great songs. But at times it's even catchy. But to me, this sounds like the band getting more comfortable in what they are. The first album was a bit of a sort of, this is a bit of an experiment, let's see what happens here. Whereas this album to me seems the band more comfortable in what they're doing and much more accomplished. It's an unpredictable album, really, as you'd expect from these two sounds. At times really eerie in the sort of more calmer elements, but then has these huge icy screams, like in the song Waste, which is one of the best songs on the album. Go check it out. If you're intrigued by this, which you should be, go check it out on YouTube. There's some great stuff out there from Zeal and Ardor, and I think a really good band. And it's very rare you get any new things in heavy metal nowadays, and people coming up with new ideas. And this is a new idea, and it works really well. Number 14 is Nervus with Everything Dies. Nervus are a UK band. They're a sort of punk emo band, let's say. And this is their 2nd album. Their first album was called Permanent Rainbows. It was really more of a solo effort from frontperson M. Foster, whereas this is a much more band-orientated album, it feels. Although M wrote the whole first album, Permanent Rainbow, all about her transitioning, her gender transition, this is more about writing about society around you and how they view you. But it's incredibly witty, really clever lyrics, really sarcastic at times, but very honest. It's got hooks and melodies on all over this album that will stick with you for days. Think of a band like the Alkaline Trio and you'll be somewhere close to what this sounds like. But go on YouTube, check out the song Sick Sad World, and my favourite on the album is a song called Skin. M's a really great front person. And I think what she says is incredibly honest and incredibly vital. I think she could be a voice of a new generation, really, if people get behind this band. So go give it a listen. Go check it out. Talking of Alkaline Trio, at number 13, Alkaline Trio with Is This Thing Cursed? This is the 9th album from US punk band Alkaline Trio, but this is the first album they've released since Matt Skiba went off to do Blink-182. And if anything, it seems to have re-energised Matt. The band sounds refocused and vital again. After 3 or 4 fairly run-of-the-mill albums, I really didn't expect Alkaline Trio to come back with such a good album. They sound refocused. The songs are always, as always, full of self-loathing and despair, but with these huge hooks and pop sensibilities surrounding them. Check out the first 3 songs on the album. Is This Thing Cursed? Blackbird and Demon and Division. What an incredible 3-song run. In my eyes, this is the best Alkaline Trio album since Crimson. Really pleased to have them back. I really hope they start touring the UK soon, because it's been years since I've seen them. In at number 12 is Therapy, Cleave. It's the 15th studio album from Northern Ireland legends, Therapy. Everyone will know Therapy from the band that made the album Troublegum. But for 15 albums, Therapy have been releasing constantly great music. They're a band that do something different on every album, but they always retain this staple Therapy sound, these huge rock hooks and these huge sort of pop sensibilities they've got, but with these massive riffs. And even on this album, they sort of hark back to the earlier days of Therapy at times, with a more sort of drum and bass orientated sound. They're such a reliable band that I feel we take them for granted nowadays. We just sort of expect them to put out a decent album and no one really bats an eyelid. But this is such a relevant album, with lyrics all about mental health, Brexit and the society around us. Therapy have always had such a great knack of partnering darkness with pop sensibilities that it's almost difficult to see what the sort of darkness element is when you're humming such a great tune in your head. But go check out songs like Wreck It Like Beckett and No Sunshine off this album. You'll understand what I mean. I think this band are an incredible band, and I just feel like we all take them for granted nowadays. It'd be great if people got behind them and go check this album out. So anyway, the last album on my first part of my 20 list is the band Wonder Years and their album Sister Cities. This is the US band's 6th album, and they started out as a much more pop-punk, sort of emo punk band, emo pop. But they really have changed and evolved their sound over time, and they've ended up being this emotional rock band, or alt-rock band, I guess. They've evolved and matured, definitely matured, if you remember their first albums. And I know people will always want, a lot of people will want them to do The Greatest Generation again, and that will always be their favourite Wonder Years album. To me, I think their best work's been over the last 2 albums. Soupy has this incredible knack of delivering such emotional and honest lyrics. At times his voice cracks and soars over these songs, and there's a lot of sense of loss and loneliness over these songs, but also a sense of connecting through distant worlds. There's melodies and hooks for days on here, like there always is, but I feel like there's a lot of focus on the space in the songs as well. These songs breathe a lot more. There's not just the fist-pumping anthems that they've been known for in the past. I think it's a beautiful album, and I just can't think of any other frontman who delivers such an honest, emotional delivery like Soupy does. Check out the songs Raining in Kyoto, and also closer, The Ocean Grew Hands to Hold Me, to see what I mean about that. And that's it really. That is my 11th album on this first part 1. So I'll be back maybe next week or the week after with 10 to 1. And then we can all argue about, why isn't this album in there, and what's this album doing in there and things, That's what we do. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll be back with the part 2 very soon. Cheers.